In ancient Babylon, a city of golden walls and whispered secrets, one man stared at his empty purse and wondered why others grew rich while he stayed poor. He didn't crave luxury, he craved understanding. What separates those who only dream of wealth from those who build it? As we step into the story of Bansir, the chariot builder, you'll discover how the first spark of desire can ignite the journey toward lasting prosperity. The weight of an empty purse. The sun hung low over the ancient city of Babylon, its golden rays glinting off tall stone walls and crowded marketplaces. Beneath the hum of merchants and the clatter of camels, a man sat silent in front of his unfinished chariot. His name was Bansir, a master chariot builder whose hands could shape wood and metal into the finest vehicles in the city. But that day his tools lay idle. His spirit was tired. His purse was empty. As he gazed at his calloused hands, he wondered how years of honest labor had led him to this point. Around him, others seemed to thrive. His friend Kobbi, the musician, had little money too. But Bansir noticed even the richest men of Babylon, those whose houses glimmered with gold and whose wives wore fine jewels, walked with a different air, an ease he couldn't understand. Why, he wondered, did wealth flow easily to some while others, no less skilled or hard-working, remained trapped in scarcity? His home stood modestly near the city's outer walls, where dust and heat mixed with the smell of leather and sweat. From his workshop, he could see the great temple of the gods, its spires piercing the sky. There merchants prayed for fortune, and travelers offered gold to ensure safe journeys. But for Bansir, the gods had been silent. As he sat lost in thought, Kobbi appeared, harp slung over his shoulder, his usual cheer replaced by worry. "Bansir, my friend," he began, "I have played my music for the nobles and the traders, yet my purse grows no heavier. Tell me, how fares your trade?" Bansir smiled weakly. "My trade fares as well as my purse. Both are empty." The two friends sat in quiet frustration, each aware of the invisible chains that bound them. They were good men, skilled, respected, even admired. But what good was skill if it never led to freedom? Kobbi strummed a soft note on his harp. "We are like the donkeys of the rich, Bansir. We carry the loads, but the gold rests on another's back." That simple truth struck Bansir deeply. He looked toward the palace, where the city's wealthiest lived behind guarded gates. "You speak true," he said. "All these years I've built chariots for kings, soldiers, and merchants. My work has carried others to wealth while I remain where I began. It is as if gold has a secret I have never learned." He paused and sighed. "I wish I had as much gold as my skills deserve." Kobbi nodded. "And if you had it, what would you do?" Bansir stared into the distance, thinking of the life he wanted. A home without debt, time to rest, a future where he didn't have to labor until his hands bled. "I would live as a free man," he said softly, "no longer fearing the next day, no longer counting the coins in my purse before buying food for my family." Then a thought struck him, a spark that cut through the fog of his frustration. "Kobbi, perhaps we have been foolish," he said. "Perhaps there are rules to wealth, just as there are rules to building a chariot. We've learned the craft of work, but not the craft of money." Kobbi raised an eyebrow. "And who could teach us such a craft?" Bansir's eyes brightened. "Do you remember Arkad, our old friend? He was once no richer than we are. Yet now he is the richest man in Babylon. He must have learned the secret. If we are wise, we will go to him, not to beg, but to learn." For the first time in years, the two men felt a flicker of hope. The weight of their empty purses seemed lighter, replaced by a hunger, not for gold itself, but for knowledge. They decided to seek Arkad and ask how he transformed his desire into abundance. It was a bold step, born not of envy but curiosity, because Bansir had finally realized something powerful. Wealth begins not in the purse but in the mind that dares to ask why it is empty. And so, under the warm Babylonian sun, two ordinary men set out to find the wisdom that would change their lives, and centuries later, ours as well. The richest man in Babylon speaks. As the first light of morning spread across Babylon, Bansir and Kobbi made their way through the bustling streets toward the home of Arkad, the richest man in the city. They passed merchants shouting prices for fine silks, traders boasting of journeys across the desert, and servants carrying jars of oil and spices. Everywhere they looked, gold seemed to move, yet never into their own hands. Arkad's home stood large but not extravagant. Its beauty came not from jewels or marble, but from quiet order, the kind of peace that comes when one has mastered both wealth and worry. When Bansir and Kobbi arrived, they were greeted kindly and soon found themselves seated before the man they had long admired. Arkad's eyes were calm, his posture unhurried. He looked like someone who had discovered a secret no one could take from him. Bansir spoke first. Arkad, we come not to beg. We come to learn. We have worked hard all our lives, yet our purses are always empty. You were once as we are. Tell us, how did you find the road to wealth? Arkad smiled as though remembering his own early struggles. You are wise to seek understanding, he said. For wealth, like a tree, grows from a small seed, and the first seed is the desire to learn how. He leaned back and began his story. In my youth, I too had nothing. I was a humble scribe, writing on clay tablets for merchants and traders. My earnings were small, and my expenses were many. Like you, I worked from dawn to dusk, yet held little gold at day's end. I envied those whose purses jingled with coins. I believed they were favored by the gods. But then I met a man who changed my thinking forever. Algamish, a wealthy moneylender. One day, while writing tablets for him, I asked, Algamish, how does one come to possess much gold? Surely you have discovered its secret. He laughed and said, Arkad, if you wish to learn how to be rich, you must first do exactly what I tell you. Save at least 1/10 of all you earn and see what happens. At first I thought it simple, almost too simple, yet I obeyed. Each time I was paid, I set aside one part in 10. It was not easy. My friends mocked me, saying I deprived myself of pleasures. But I discovered something profound. Even as my purse grew only slightly heavier, my heart grew stronger. For the first time, I was master of my money, not its servant. Kobbi interrupted softly. Did it truly make a difference, Arkad? A single tenth? Arkad nodded. Indeed. It is the foundation of all wealth. From that first tenth grew the habit of saving, and from that habit came opportunity. Gold, you see, comes gladly and in increasing quantity to those who save at least 1/10 of their earnings. He paused, then added, but saving alone is not enough. Gold is shy. It flees from those who misuse it. You must learn to make your gold work for you. Bansir leaned forward, eager. And how does one make gold work? Arkad smiled. By investing it wisely, never foolishly. Let your gold labor as you labor, and soon it will bear children of its own. Each coin becomes a worker that brings more coins to your purse. But be cautious. Gold flees from the man who follows the advice of tricksters or invests in things he does not understand. The room fell silent. Bansir and Kobbi listened, as if their lives depended on every word. For perhaps they did. Arkad continued. I learned that wealth is not a matter of luck or chance. It is a matter of discipline. The gods favor action, not intention. A man may desire gold, but unless he learns its laws, he will always be a slave to his desires. He looked at his two friends with quiet conviction. You have both labored hard, but your labor has served others because you have not made your money serve you. The moment you command your gold, to multiply, to stay, to protect itself, is the moment you begin the journey to freedom. Then, as if speaking to every listener across time, Arkad said, Start thy purse to fattening. For every 10 coins thou earneth, keep one for thyself. It is not the amount that matters, but the habit. A lean purse is a sign of a lean mind. A fat purse begins with a single coin, kept. Those words settled in Bansir's heart, like seeds in fertile soil. For the first time, he understood that wealth wasn't a mystery hidden behind walls of privilege. It was a craft, a discipline, a way of thinking. When they left Arkad's house, the two friends felt as though they had discovered fire. The road to gold was no longer invisible. It had rules, and they could learn them. That night, Bansir looked at his tools differently. Each strike of his hammer, each wheel he shaped, was no longer just labor. It was a step toward freedom. He didn't yet have gold in his purse, but for the first time he carried it in his mind. The first laws of gold, in the days that followed their meeting with Arkad, Bansir and Kobbi could speak of little else. The words of their wealthy friend echoed through their minds. For every 10 coins thou earneth, keep one for thyself. Such a simple rule, yet it felt like the turning of a great wheel inside them. Each morning, Bansir returned to his workshop with new determination. The sound of hammer striking metal carried a different energy now, not the rhythm of survival, but of purpose. For the first time, he saw his labor as a means to build wealth, not just to pay debts. Weeks passed, and their purses began to grow heavier, just slightly but noticeably. Bansir's wife, astonished by his restraint, asked why he suddenly kept a portion of their earnings untouched. He smiled and said, "Because our gold must learn to stay before it can learn to grow." Kobbi, too, changed. He played his harp in the marketplace with a renewed spirit, no longer performing just for coins, but for a vision of freedom. The two friends often met by the city walls, sharing stories of small sacrifices, meals forgone, luxuries declined, each one adding a coin to their future. Yet as their purses swelled, temptation crept in. One evening, a merchant approached them with a dazzling proposal. "There is a caravan," he said, "soon to depart for distant lands. Invest your gold with me, and I shall return with riches beyond measure." Bansir hesitated. The dream of sudden wealth stirred inside him. But he remembered Arkad's warning. Gold flees from the man who invests in things he does not understand. Still, curiosity won. Against their better judgment, they gave the merchant their modest savings. Weeks turned into months, and no caravan ever returned. The merchant vanished into the desert, and with him, their hard-earned gold. Bansir was crushed. "All our discipline, all our effort, gone," he lamented. Kobbi hung his head. "Perhaps we are cursed to remain poor." But Arkad's words returned to them once more. The gods favor those who learn from their mistakes more than those who never dare. Ashamed but wiser, they returned to Arkad, confessing their loss. The rich man did not scold them. He only nodded knowingly. "You have paid a small price for a great lesson," he said. "Better lose a handful of coins now than a chest of gold later. Remember this, my friends. Gold grows safely only under the wise care of its master. You must make it work where the laws of trade and skill protect it." Then Arkad spoke of the first 3 laws of gold, principles so clear they would one day echo through centuries. First law: gold comes gladly and in increasing quantity to anyone who saves at least 1/10 of their earnings, using it to create a future of comfort and security. Second law: gold labors diligently and multiplies when put to good use under the guidance of the wise. Third law: gold clings to the protection of the cautious owner who invests it only where it is safe, where experience and knowledge ensure its return. Bansir and Kobbi listened with the reverence of men who had discovered a sacred text. Each law felt like a key unlocking the mystery of prosperity. Then Arkad leaned forward. "There are also 2 dangerous roads that lead to ruin. Fourth law: gold slips away from those who invest in things they do not understand, or in enterprises that sound too good to be true. Fifth law: gold flees from those who force it to earn impossible profits or who trust the dishonest and inexperienced in its use." He looked into their eyes and said softly, "Wealth is built not by chasing fortune, but by obeying its laws. When you follow these principles, gold becomes your servant. When you ignore them, you become its slave." Silence filled the room. Bansir felt the truth of those words settle deep inside him. He realized that riches were not a gift of chance, nor a privilege of birth. They were the result of discipline, wisdom, and time. Kobbi finally smiled. "Then the gods do not choose who shall be rich," he said. "Each man chooses for himself." Arkad nodded. "Exactly so. Desire leads to effort. Effort guided by knowledge leads to success. There is no mystery greater than that. When they left Arkad's home that day, they were no longer merely dreamers of gold. They were students of its ways. Their first attempts had failed, but their faith had deepened. They now walked the streets of Babylon with the quiet confidence of men who had begun to see the pattern of wealth unfolding before them. And that night, as the city slept beneath its starlit sky, Bansir whispered to himself, "Let my gold obey me, not the other way around." He didn't know it yet, but this small vow marked the true beginning of his prosperity. From desire to discipline, the days that followed were not easy ones for Bansir and Kobbi. Knowledge had awakened them, but discipline would test them. They now understood the laws of gold, yet understanding alone did not fill a purse. Each morning, as Bansir rose to his workbench, the temptation to spend returned like an old friend. The market called with its spices and silks. The tavern hummed with laughter. And yet, he reminded himself, for every 10 coins, one must be kept. That single phrase became his shield. At first, the difference was invisible. A few small coins in a clay jar did not change his life, but it changed his mind. For every moment he resisted impulse, he grew stronger than before. Slowly, saving became a habit, and habit became power. Months passed. The jar grew heavier. Kobbi, too, began to see results. The clinking sound of coins became a song, not of greed, but of freedom. One evening they returned to Arkad once more. The wise man greeted them warmly, as if expecting their visit. "Tell me," he said, "what has become of the gold you now earn?" Bansir smiled proudly. "It grows, master. We keep a tenth of all we earn, and though the purse fattens slowly, it no longer grows lean." Arkad nodded. "Then you have learned the first mastery, to control your desires. Gold is but a reflection of self-mastery. When a man commands his habits, he commands his destiny." Kobbi asked, "But tell us, Arkad, when does wealth truly begin? When does one stop being poor?" Arkad looked at them thoughtfully. "A man stops being poor the day he decides to learn. Gold is only a result. Wisdom is the cause. A full purse without wisdom is soon empty again. But a wise man with even a single coin may one day hold a fortune." He walked to the window, gazing upon the city's golden glow. "Look at Babylon," he said. "Its walls did not rise in a day. Each brick was placed by steady hands, one upon another. So too is wealth built, not in leaps, but in layers." Then he turned to them and said what would become one of Babylon's most cherished truths. "A part of all you earn is yours to keep, and if you keep it long enough, it will make slaves of the other parts." Those words struck deep. Bansir felt a quiet pride swell within him. He no longer envied the rich. He understood them. Wealth was not magic, and it was method. When he returned home that night, the city around him seemed different. The same walls, the same streets, the same stars. But now he walked them with purpose. Every coin he earned had meaning. Every act of restraint was a step toward freedom. Months later, his savings became enough to lend to a merchant he trusted, a man whose caravan traded in copper and tin. The agreement was fair and cautious, guided by the wisdom Arkad had taught. And when the merchant returned safely, Bansir's gold came back to him, with children of its own. It was his first taste of true wealth, not in the glitter of coins, but in the confidence that he had mastered the rules of his own life. As time passed, he shared these teachings with others, craftsmen, traders, and even young apprentices. Soon the city began to change. The poor no longer dreamed of miracles. They studied the laws of gold. The rich no longer hoarded. They taught. Babylon, brick by brick, became not just a city of walls, but a city of wisdom. And Bansir understood something timeless. The journey to wealth is not about chasing gold. It's about becoming the kind of person gold is drawn to. So ended the story of the man who desired gold, and began the story of the man who learned how to earn, keep, and grow it. Desire had given birth to discipline, and discipline had awakened wisdom. But as the men of Babylon soon discovered, knowledge alone is not enough, for gold, once earned, can vanish as quickly as it came, if not guarded with care. In the next chapter, The Richest Man in Babylon, Arkad gathers the people to share the 7 timeless cures for a lean purse, the foundation of every fortune built since the dawn of time.